Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Twenties Detox. I'm Bianca, your host, and I just share the things that I'm learning or unlearning or relearning during my 20s. And we've had some fellow 20-somethings come on and share some things. And I've also had some people in my life who have lived their life or who are outside of their 20s and just share the wisdom that they have. So my energy is at an all-time low. I may be talking a bit quieter. I'm really, really tired today. I've been tired the last few days, but I wanted to share with you a few things that have been on my mind because a few weeks ago I did a trade show. The job that I have, I work with my family. I work in sales. I also do a lot of the website design and management. And then I have a select few other jobs like in shipping and whatnot. So I have a few job positions. When I did the trade show with my mom, it was a new experience. You're around a lot of people and you're in sales. And I wanted to share some of the reflections I had after that experience because that was my second year doing it, relating to just overall self-confidence, the meaning of embarrassment, and also just how I feel after really just taking these 2 years off, possibly more, not be in school, not have done my master's, and quite literally to do an entire job not related to the degree that I graduated with. So that if any of you guys have just graduated and I'm so proud of you, like congratulate yourself, regardless if you're going to continue in that field. It's something to be celebrated. And I definitely know that this is the time of the year where a lot of people are graduating or have already graduated or just finished another educational year, and I want to celebrate you and I'm really proud of you. So if nobody's celebrated you yet, I'm here just giving you a virtual hug. Okay. So before we get into that, I want to just kind of explain some of the things, like some life updates. I've been waking up earlier this week. I really feel like it's important to me to like try and go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. It really helps with my energy levels. Although I'm really tired today, it's because it's that time of the month for my ladies out there. Yeah, so I'm always like pretty low energy around this time, and it's not really like a lack of sleep or overexertion. It's just, the natural hormonal cycle. And right now they're plummeted, they're not really existing. So it's a time for rest and, reflection, rejuvenation. But I definitely think that it is super important to like try and go to bed and wake up at the same time. It just helps so much with your circadian rhythm. Another thing I've been pairing with that to help me wake up a bit better is these, how do you call it? They're like, I'm not doing a polar dip, but I basically get like a salad bowl and I put a bunch of ice in it and I pour some water in it. And I've been putting my face in that water every morning and it gives me like a brain freeze. It kind of sucks, but it feels really good initially. Like it feels so good. And then it gets really cold and I do it again and again and I do it like 3 or 4 times and then I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done. But it's really good for your nervous system as well because it triggers your vagus nerve, it's below your ear and also on your face a little bit. So when you submerge your face in cold water, it's a shock to your nervous system in a healthy way. And your vagus nerve controls a lot of your fight or flight, the cortisol levels. And we know that the stress hormone is like the major killer in this world. So in any way that we can help regulate our nervous system, really, really easy to do. And it feels incredible. Like I feel so awake the rest of the day. And another thing that I've been doing is I've been leaving my phone in my kitchen. So I've been taking my phone out of my room for bedtime. It's really helping me get up in the morning easier because I'm not scrolling on my phone, right? And also I'm allowing enough time before bedtime without that blue light. I love it. And before I found it kind of difficult because if you're like talking to somebody, like I kind of do like long distance with my boyfriend. So we text at the end of the day after we're working. As silly as that sounds, that kind of makes things a bit difficult if you are like talking to somebody, because you obviously you want to like give them attention and whatnot. But my boyfriend and I are going on like 3 years now, and I'm going to see him on the weekend. So he can deal with me going to bed a little bit earlier. I have my Google Home in my room for my alarm. And fun fact, if you have a Google Home, you can set like a media alarm where you can connect one of your like either Apple or Spotify playlists to be that as the alarm. And I feel like that's such a more enjoyable experience. I'm so over those like blazing alarms. Like that scares me. I literally immediately go into fight or flight. I've been really trying to get a grasp on that for my energy levels lately. To go to bed and wake up at the same time, the ice bowl method, and leaving my phone down and not being on my phone before bed and right when I wake up either. I've spoken about it on my Instagram and TikTok before. When you first wake up, your brain shifts from delta, which is when you're dreaming and you're sleeping, to theta, which is a very drowsy state. You're like really not fully awake and not fully asleep. And then after it shifts to alpha waves for a little bit in the morning before it goes into beta. Alpha waves are like reflective time, a very restful state, when you're just like right in the morning after you get out of that like drowsy state. During the day when you're busy and active, those are your beta waves. And also sometimes when you're like problem solving or really, really, really concentrating, those are gamma waves. So those are like 5 brain waves that our state goes through. And the reason why I'm telling you this and the reason why I've really tried to put my phone away before going to bed is because of the fact that our brain is in alpha waves right in the morning and right before bed. And when you're a kid, our brain is in alpha waves majority of the time. And the reason for that is it's such an absorptive state. When you're in alpha waves, you're really absorbing things. It's very, very priming period. It also is like why, as a kid, you remember so much. And it's why they say learning a language when you're younger and a child is so much more beneficial than later on in life. And it's because you're in alpha wavelength for a long period of time, which is a great time to absorb information. Now, here's the thing. If you're on your phone, if you're immediately scrolling on social media in the morning and you're in alpha wavelength, all that information that you are not intentionally setting to consume is going to be absorbed drastically in your brain. Like, that's also why I don't really click on the news right in the morning. I don't feel like watching the news right in the morning and right before bed is the smartest decision, although that is very norm. That's it within the norm. And it's because, well, the news is a pretty negative place. I don't need to be some like a Debbie Downer for that to be a shocking thing for people to understand. Like, the news is really negative. And for you to be in such a priming state to absorb a lot of negative information, what could that possibly do? Promote a more pessimistic mindset. So, a great thing to do in your mornings is to focus on intention setting, your meditation, your affirmations, all of that, because what that's doing is during that alpha state, the very restful, reflective state, you're able to focus on some of the good. And you're also able to prime your day or get your day ready for an aligned day. It's not going to be a chaotic day. I find the days where I feel the most chaotic, the most out of it is when I was scrolling on my phone for a little bit and like lots of different types of information was bombarding my brain. I see a recipe and then I see a personal development one, and those are great. Okay. But I also see stuff on like the news, and I also see all these like, um, clickbait stuff, and like there's some negative things on social media, of course, and it's so overwhelming, and I feel like it really drains my brain because it doesn't know what to focus on. It's trying to absorb so much different types of information, and basically my ability to critical think or just have enough energy throughout the rest of my day is lessened. Like my willpower is kind of gone out a little bit of the window. But yeah, those are kind of a few of the tips if you are thinking of upping your sleep schedule or your morning and night routines. With a bit of information, a bit of science, because I like backing up with some science. So yeah, that's been kind of like what I've been doing recently. So let's get into the topic of today, which is also it's a time of reflection for me, but I think it's perfect around this time where I know a lot of you guys have just finished another school year, and it can be a time of deep reflection of what to do next or what courses to take. Or should I do my master's or should I do change my degree? So let's get into it. I wanted to start with this quote. I don't know who said it. It's unknown, but I saw this and it's targeting the people right there who just graduated. Okay? So, I want to remind you of something, and this is what the quote said. Your degree is just a piece of paper. It doesn't define who you are or limit what you're capable of. Don't be afraid to try something new and different. You might just discover a passion you never knew you had. I wanted to start off with a bit of a quote today with that because I think it definitely embodies such a great message of just remembering not to over identify with possibly some of our achievements in school, and also just don't stress yourself out to the point where you are like so overwhelmed with life because of certain decisions you have to make. Like sometimes what's really good is to just step away from that and like reconnect with yourself and your body and what you feel deep down is right for you and not what everybody thinks is right for you because of a piece of paper, you know? So I wanted to start it off with that, but let's get into a little bit of a story time with my trade show experience. I work in sales. My mom is like the main sales lady, and my dad is the engineer, but also does a lot of the shipping. And then there's somebody else who also works and does more of the admin stuff and the books. And I have various jobs, so I help all three of those people, and then I also mainly manage the website and I do the design and manage the sales and stuff like that. But my mom always goes to this trade show every year around the springtime. Basically, it was a restaurant show, trade show, and all Canada and the US companies go there, and it's in Toronto where they are sharing, like some of the products that are there, like whether you're a restaurant or you're a bakery or you offer services or products for the hospitality industry. And the products that my family sells, I'm fourth generation. I don't own the company, obviously. Ha, that would be funny. It is for oil management. I'm not going to get into like the nitty gritty stuff of my work. I'm just explaining basics to what I do. And then we sell plumbing equipment and whatnot. But while I was there and I was selling some of the products, like you have to have your pitches, you have to make sure that you're catering to like what they want. I think a really important thing that I've learned in sales is you have to make sure you're listening to what the person really needs. And I think what benefits and really sets an individual apart in sales, it's something I learned from my mom, is they're going to trust you so much more if you are honoring what you're talking about with a bit of humility, in the sense that like some of the products I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to sell you on this because like you don't need this. What you're doing is great. But you know what? If you wanted to up your game, why don't we talk about this? Versus me pushing and pushing and pushing. Like I saw these salespeople like push and push and push. And I was like, dude, you're not even like seeing what that person wants. Like they're getting intimidated by you. Like, of course they don't want to talk to you. You're not catering to their needs. You're not even asking them their situation. If you asked Bianca 3 years ago how she would feel being in this position, she'd laugh at you. I was deep in my science studies. I didn't vision myself to be somebody within the sales. Like, there's no way. I didn't want anything to do with working in the company. It just felt like it was a very intimidating process, and working for somebody else made me feel more safe. But how it all panned out for me is when I graduated, I realized I didn't want to work in that anymore. And I spoke about this in a couple other episodes, so we won't get into that. But when I was done and I realized, well, shit, I need to work. My parents are like, we need help if you want to come to us. Like, we need some help with the setting the website up and managing that. And there's, like we're getting older. We can't do everything more efficiently. And I think that regardless, by the end of the day, you're going to learn something. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. I'm going to learn about it. I think what was really important for me here is when I first started working this job, I felt really, really, really behind. At the time when I graduated, a lot of my friends were still in school because they were either making it a 5 year or they kind of shifted their degree around and had to do a few more years. So I didn't know anybody that was done school and didn't do like another degree after or didn't go back to school. Like I didn't know one person that was home yet, finished school that I was close to. Um, so I felt really alone. I also was severely second guessing my decision of not doing a master's because it was the safer option of just going back to school and having something certain, even though I knew it didn't feel right. And for any of you guys that have just maybe graduated or graduated last year, a couple of years ago, and are still kind of in this thought process, I do want to remind you guys that no matter what you take, no matter what you do, no matter what job you do, you're always going to have transferable skills for your future. Never feel embarrassed about the jobs that you're doing. Because if you feel embarrassed, and we're going to get into that, it's because you've been taught something that you need to unlearn about yourself, about other people, and you need to remember who the fuck you are, basically. Like, you got to remember who you are. And you got to remember that I'm not living my life for other people. I'm living it for myself. And I believe in myself. And if you believe in yourself and you're on top of your visions and your goals, who the hell cares what other people think? And I do want to talk about the whole idea of embarrassment because last year when I did this trade show, man, I was shaking. I was shaking a little bit in this trade show, but I was like really, really timid. I didn't see a lot of people my age. And you know what? That for some people, that may be like, oh, I feel amazing. Look at me. Like, I'm so young and I'm doing this so early. No, like, I was terrified, bro, because what happens is older people will pick on younger people, question whether or not they know the information. And you know what? I didn't know all the information really well. I don't know everything about plumbing and all the equipment that we sold and to cater to all of their needs and the issues that they had in their restaurant or in their home. I also don't know everything about every single filtration system for oils and like the different types of oils and I to calculate quick math in my head. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know everything. And that's why did we feel like we need to know everything? Why do you feel like you need to know everything? Why do you feel like you need to be higher up than where you are right now? I want you to just take a moment right now and look back on a situation like a past job or a past experience in school where you're like, I'm seeing the brighter end of it. Like that was kind of fun. Like I kind of missed that. In the moment, possibly you were thinking about how much you freaking hate this situation. I hate this job. I don't want to be at this school anymore. I'm over this whole experience. But then 2, 3 years later, you're probably not going to remember how much you hated it. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, it was a great experience. Like a lot of people I hear talk about that stuff. Getting into embarrassment, I think really honoring the process and in everything and just understanding that no matter what, everything that we're doing, no education was a waste. No job was a waste because when you look back at your life and you look at the things that you learned and you look at how that really helped you now, some of the stuff that you kind of hated in the moment, you're pretty grateful for now because it helped you in one way or rather just learn how to either problem solve or persevere more or be more grateful for this moment, and like, no, I'm not in forensic science anymore. And maybe, no, you graduated with a degree right now, but you're not going to continue in it. But I promise you, whatever you just learned is going to help you in your future. So don't think about it as a waste of time. That is a waste of time, is to think about that. You know what I mean? Like, just be here with me, be here with yourself, and be present, and really just give you a pat on the back for the fact that you did it. Not everybody has a degree. Not everybody has a degree. Remember that. And also, not everybody is you. So, your personal experience, everything combined with that and your personality is going to develop the future that you want. And not everybody's going to understand it, but as long as you believe in yourself, everything's going to be okay. When I was at the trade show and I was really timid, right, the first time, and the second time when I went, I was a little bit better because I learned that embarrassment is just a mindset. It's really just something that we have conditioned in ourselves to be labeled as embarrassing or not societally accepted, and for that reason, it is embarrassing. And you're less of a person because of that. Worrying about like how somebody's going to respond to you, that's not in your control. Worried about whether or not you're going to be able to have a good answer in return, that's not in your control. Worried about whether or not somebody is going to view your behavior or this situation or this interaction as their version of societally accepted or normal is not in your control. The second we start to let go of some of these mindsets or beliefs to be seen as confident, like confidence is a feeling. Confidence is not always just an act. It isn't the things that you say or what you do, it's the way that you feel. And it is not always to impress people. There's a lot of arrogance out there, and I think people try to over dominate themselves. And you feel, I really do think that the people that come across as more arrogant are those who are the most insecure because they don't know how to be comfortable with themselves. I had some quote unquote embarrassing situations. It could have really brought me down. It could have totally plummeted my confidence. I could have catastrophized and been like, oh my God, what am I doing? I have a degree in forensic science. I don't have any degree in business. I'm not a salesperson. What am I doing? I could catastrophize like that, or I can laugh about it and be like, well, whatever, that was funny. It is what it is. Let it go and move on. I know it's sometimes easier said than done, but it is really powerful. I kept telling myself that no matter what, no matter their age, no matter how tall they are, no matter how much men specifically, sorry, any males that are listening, but they tend to really overdominate, or they tend to overdominate me in those situations, and I'm not going to fucking fall for it. And I hold my ground and I lift my chin up and I respond to them in a way that makes them know that I'm viewing them as an equal and they should treat me as an equal. You know what? Some of them made some jokes about how I'm too young, how I'm just a pretty face. That's pretty embarrassing if you want to label something as embarrassing in front of you while you're trying to do a pitch in front of a bunch of people. And viewing that now, I would tell that girl that's experiencing that, like, no, honey, they're just rude. You're doing great. Okay, so give that to yourself. Also, what about if you actually do kind of mess up? You slip, oops, sorry, whatever. Am I gonna like turn in like hermit and curl away and realize like, oh my gosh, like that was awful. I should never attempt this. Or I'm just gonna laugh about it and be like, oh well, everybody makes a mistake. Like you guys have to do that. Sometimes I think just being like openly delusional, being a positive, delusional person is going to benefit you immensely because a lot of us are delusionally pessimistic and we expect the worst. We expect that the response is going to be negative. But what about if in every single second you're delusionary, like that's a hard word to say, delusion, whatever, you see what I mean, but positive. So we're always looking for the positives in the situation. And we're seeing the positives in not only others, but also ourselves in situations so that rather than labeling something as embarrassing or not societally accepted, we're going to label it as funny and we're going to label it as quirky and we're going to label it as just being you. Because who gives a fuck about what society expects? Because that changes. It changes every month, it changes every season. And I will not put myself in a box that does that constantly so that my personality could fit. That's what more confidence is about. You don't need to prove it, you don't need to talk about it. You just feel comfortable in your skin and comfortable in yourself, and you're able to give that compassion to others. When you start to love yourself a lot more and you gain that kind of self respect, and the confidence starts to be shown in the way that you act and just go through life, you're going to give that to other people regardless of how they act because you don't care anymore. So I want to just finish this off with a couple prompts because I'm getting tired. And I really hope that this episode isn't all over the place, but I'm trying my best. So um, I want you to think about a time when you felt embarrassed or self conscious. Think about that time. I want you to like journal about what happened. And I want you to kind of reflect on how did you react in that situation? Did you become really defensive or did you peel away? Did you, beat yourself up after about it? Tell yourself of what's wrong with you? And I want you to ask like yourself, what caused those feelings to happen? Like what beliefs do you have for whatever that situation to be as embarrassing? Okay, and now in hindsight, is there anything that you could have done differently to feel more confident in that situation? So you remember how I was reflecting back on my past self and like what she experienced and what I would tell her now so that she would remember who she is and remember to ground herself and to feel confident. What would you tell them in the past? Okay, now lastly, I want you to brainstorm about a list of activities that make you feel confident and self assured. Because I want you to add one of those into your daily life a little bit to boost that self esteem. And remember that, I know who I am and I don't need to feel embarrassed. Mindset shifts are not as easy as you think. And I think a lot of the time we need to remind ourselves through activities that make us feel the way that we want to feel one day. So if that means that you need to add this activity or like a sport that always made you feel really confident in, like you felt proud of yourself, or maybe it's doing more art, right? Something, I don't know, anything that makes you feel really confident in yourself. How are you going to add more of that into your life to like boost that self esteem? So, yeah, that's the episode. It's a shorter one. I want to remind you that you are so worthy and like no matter what, nobody can tell you that you're less than. You really are. Let's just laugh about more things, okay? Let's get out of this serious mindset. Like we don't need to be perfect. Who said we need to be perfect? I don't want to be perfect. That's boring. I would be a boring friend, a boring partner, a boring sister. I don't want to be perfect, and neither should you. Anyway, I hope you have an amazing week, and make sure you drink some water, you get some fresh air, you take care of yourself, you do some journaling this week, and maybe work on that creating a better sleep cycle because that always helps with our mental health. Okay, so love you guys. Have an amazing week. I'll see you next time. Bye.